If you love incredible military stories, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you never miss these amazing true tales. Now, let's dive into this extraordinary story. The desert sun blazed over the Iraqi village as Lieutenant Usay, Commander Jake Harrison, crouched behind a crumbling wall. His team of Navy SEALs spread out in tactical positions around him. They had been tracking a high-value target for 3 days. And intelligence suggested he was hiding in this small settlement near Ramadi. The year was 2006, and the insurgency was at its peak. Every shadow could hide an enemy, every window a potential threat. Jake's radio crackled to life. His point man, Rodriguez, reported movement in the building across the square. The team had been observing this location for 2 hours, waiting for confirmation before moving in. Everything seemed normal until the first shot rang out. The bullet struck the ground inches from Rodriguez's position, kicking up a spray of dust and rock fragments. "Sniper, take cover," Jake shouted into his radio. His team immediately scattered, finding whatever protection they could in the ruins of the war-torn village. Another shot rang out, this one striking the wall where Jake had been standing just seconds before. The precision was remarkable. This wasn't some amateur fighter with an old rifle. This was a trained marksman. "Where's that fire coming from?" Jake demanded, scanning the buildings with his scope. His team members called out possible locations, but nothing made sense. The angle of the shots suggested the sniper was elevated, but all the tall buildings in their sight lines appeared empty. They had cleared most of them during their approach. Another round cracked through the air, striking dangerously close to Sergeant Mike Chen, who rolled behind a concrete barrier. The team was pinned down. Every time someone moved, another shot would ring out with terrifying accuracy. Jake had been in countless firefights during his career, but something about this felt different. The sniper wasn't spraying bullets or firing wildly. Each shot was calculated, methodical, almost like the shooter was toying with them. It was as if an invisible enemy had them in a deadly game of chess. Jake's mind raced through possibilities. The shots were coming from the northwest, but that direction only showed low buildings and rubble. His spotter, Williams, was using advanced optics to scan every possible position. Nothing. No muzzle flash, no scope glint, no movement. It was as if the bullets were appearing out of thin air. The phantom sniper, as Jake would later call him, remained completely invisible. Asterisk minutes felt like hours as the SEAL team remained frozen in their positions. Jake knew they couldn't stay pinned down forever. The longer they remained stationary, the more vulnerable they became. If the sniper had backup, or if insurgents discovered their location, they would be trapped. He needed to identify the shooter's position and neutralize the threat. "Williams, talk to me. What do you see?" Jake asked through his radio, keeping his voice steady despite the adrenaline pumping through his veins. Williams was his best spotter, a man who could identify a threat from over 1,000 yards away. If anyone could find this phantom shooter, it was him. "Nothing, sir. I've scanned every building, every window, every rooftop in the northwest quadrant. There's no one there," Williams replied, frustration evident in his voice. Another shot rang out, this one passing so close to Williams that he felt the air displacement. The bullet embedded itself in the wall behind him with a sharp crack. Jake made a decision. He signaled to Rodriguez and Chen to provide covering fire while he moved to a better vantage point. On his mark, both SEALs opened up with controlled bursts toward the suspected area. Jake sprinted across the open square, his legs pumping as bullets kicked up dust around him. He dove behind an overturned vehicle, his heart pounding. From this new angle, Jake pulled out his binoculars and began a systematic search. He looked at every building, every pile of rubble, every possible hiding spot. Then he noticed something strange. There was a small opening in the ground near a collapsed structure, partially hidden by debris and vegetation. It wasn't a window or a door. It was a hole, possibly leading to an underground tunnel or basement. The next shot confirmed his suspicion. He saw the tiniest puff of dust emerge from that opening, barely visible in the harsh sunlight. The sniper wasn't in a building at all. He was underground, firing through a carefully concealed position that gave him a view of the entire square while keeping him completely hidden from above. It was brilliant and terrifying at the same time. "I've got him," Jake said into his radio, his voice tight with controlled excitement. "Underground position, northwest corner, near the collapsed building with the blue door. He's firing from a tunnel or basement." His team acknowledged, immediately adjusting their focus to the new location. But knowing where the sniper was hiding and being able to neutralize him were two very different problems. Jake quickly formulated a plan. The underground position gave the sniper incredible protection, but it also limited his mobility. If they could flush him out or force him to relocate, they might get a clear shot. He radioed for his demolitions expert, Petty Officer Davis, who carried breaching charges and flashbangs. "Davis, I need you to work your way around to the east side of that position. We're going to force him to move," Jake ordered. Davis acknowledged and began his careful movement, using the rubble and abandoned vehicles as cover. Every few seconds, another shot would ring out, reminding them that the phantom sniper was still watching, still waiting. As Davis moved into position, Jake noticed something that made his blood run cold. The sniper wasn't just randomly shooting anymore. He was firing in a pattern, almost like he was herding the SEAL team toward a specific location. Jake had seen this tactic before in training scenarios. It was called channeling, where one shooter would force enemies into a kill zone where others waited. "Everyone freeze," Jake commanded. This might be a trap. There could be more shooters. His team immediately halted their movements, going completely still. Jake scanned the surrounding area with renewed urgency. If this was a coordinated ambush, they were in serious danger. His mind flashed to stories he had heard about insurgent tactics. It's about foreign fighters who had training comparable to special forces. For several long minutes, nothing happened. No more shots, no movement, just the oppressive heat of the desert sun beating down on them. The silence was almost worse than the gunfire. Jake's instincts screamed that something was wrong. Then Williams's voice came through the radio, barely a whisper. "Sir, I've got movement. Different location. Southeast, second floor of the building with the green shutters. I think there are at least 2 more shooters." Jake's heart sank. They'd been so focused on the underground sniper that they had missed the bigger picture. This wasn't a lone gunman. It was a coordinated team, and the phantom sniper had been the bait. Keeping them focused in one direction while others moved into position, Jake had to make a quick decision. They were outnumbered and outpositioned. The smart move would be to call for backup and retreat. But their target was somewhere in this village, and if they pulled back now, he would disappear. Jake thought about his team, about their families waiting at home, about the mission that had brought them here. Every decision in combat carried weight, and this one felt heavier than most. "All units, we have multiple hostiles. Prepare for coordinated engagement," Jake said into his radio, his training overriding his fear. He quickly assigned sectors to each team member, ensuring they had overlapping fields of fire. If this was going to turn into a full firefight, they needed to be organized and disciplined. Before Jake could give the order to engage, something unexpected happened. A single shot rang out, but it wasn't aimed at the SEALs. One of the insurgent fighters in the building with green shutters suddenly slumped forward, visible for just a moment before falling back into the shadows. Jake's mind raced to understand what had just happened. Someone had just shot one of the enemy fighters. Did anyone take that shot? Jake asked urgently. His team members all reported negative. None of them had fired. Another shot echoed through the village, and a second insurgent fighter fell from a different position. Jake's confusion deepened. Who was shooting the people who were shooting at them? Then Williams's voice came through, filled with disbelief. "Sir, I think the underground sniper just shot the other hostiles. He's not with them. He's engaging them." Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. The phantom sniper who had been pinning them down was now taking out the insurgents who had been preparing to ambush them. Nothing about this situation made sense anymore. The firefight intensified as more insurgents revealed themselves, firing at both the SEAL team and the mysterious underground sniper. Jake's team returned fire, their training taking over as they engaged multiple targets. The village square became a chaotic battlefield, with bullets flying from every direction. Through it all, The phantom sniper continued firing with deadly precision, each shot finding its mark. Jake watched in amazement as the mysterious shooter systematically eliminated threat after threat. Whoever this person was, they had military training and serious skills. The shots were coming faster now, and Jake could tell the sniper had shifted positions within the tunnel system. He was mobile, adaptable, and extremely effective. Within minutes, the insurgent fighters were either dead or retreating. As quickly as it had started, the firefight ended. An eerie silence fell over the village, broken only by the ringing in Jake's ears from the gunfire. His team remained in their positions, weapons ready, unsure what to expect next. The phantom sniper had saved their lives, but they still had no idea who he was or why he had helped them. Jake made a decision. He signaled his team to hold their positions while he carefully approached the underground entrance, where the sniper had been firing from. Every instinct told him this could be a trap, but he needed answers. He needed to know who had just saved his team from what would have been a deadly ambush. "I'm going in," Jake said into his radio. "Cover me, but do not fire unless I give the order or you see a clear threat." His team acknowledged, though he could hear the concern in their voices. Jake approached the opening slowly, his rifle raised, finger near the trigger. The hole was smaller than he expected, barely large enough for a person to fit through. "I'm coming down," Jake called out in Arabic, hoping the sniper would understand. "I'm not here to fight. You saved my team." There was no response, just darkness below. Jake pulled out his flashlight and peered into the hole. It led to what appeared to be an old cellar, part of the village's tunnel system that predated the war. Jake lowered himself into the opening, his senses on high alert. The space below was cool and dark, a sharp contrast to the scorching heat above. As his eyes adjusted, he saw the sniper's position, a carefully constructed hide with sightlines to the surface. Spent shell casings littered the ground, evidence of the precision shooting that had taken place. But the sniper was gone. In the darkness, Jake found a tunnel leading away from the firing position. The phantom had disappeared into the underground network, leaving behind only evidence of his presence. Jake examined the position more closely, looking for any clue about who this mysterious shooter might be. What he found surprised him. Among the shell casings was a small item that made Jake's heart skip a beat. It was a military patch, worn and faded, but still recognizable. It was from an Iraqi Special Forces unit that had worked alongside American troops before the government fell. This sniper wasn't an insurgent or a foreign fighter. He was likely a former Iraqi soldier, one who had been trained by American advisors. Jake understood now. This man had probably lost everything when his unit disbanded, his country torn apart by war. But he was still fighting, still trying to protect something, still using his skills against the insurgents who had destroyed his homeland. The phantom sniper was a ghost of the old army, operating alone in the shadows, engaging targets that threatened what remained of his country. Jake climbed back to the surface and rejoined his team. He explained what he had found, and a somber understanding passed between the SEALs. This war had created countless stories like this. Soldiers without armies, fighters without flags, people caught in the chaos trying to survive and maintain some sense of purpose and honor. "Do we pursue?" Rodriguez asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Jake shook his head. The phantom sniper had saved their lives, and more importantly, he was clearly fighting the same enemy they were. There was no tactical or moral reason to hunt him down. In the strange arithmetic of war, he had proven himself an ally, even if only for one brief encounter. The SEAL team continued their mission, eventually locating and capturing their high-value target without further incident. But Jake couldn't stop thinking about the phantom sniper. He wondered if the man was still down there in those tunnels, watching through hidden openings, providing guardian angel overwatch for anyone fighting against the insurgents. In his mission report, Jake detailed the encounter, including the discovery of the Iraqi Special Forces patch. Intelligence officers were intrigued, but unsurprised. There were reports of former Iraqi military personnel conducting independent operations against insurgent groups. Some called them vigilantes, others called them patriots. Jake just called them survivors, doing what they could in an impossible situation. Months later, after Jake's deployment ended and he returned home, he often thought about that day in the village. He had faced death countless times in his career, but there was something haunting about the phantom sniper. In a war filled with clear enemies and defined sides, here was someone who existed in the gray spaces, fighting his own war by his own rules. Jake sometimes wondered if the sniper was still out there, still operating from those underground positions, still protecting his homeland in the only way he knew how. He imagined the man moving through those tunnels, a ghost haunting the battlefield, appearing when needed and vanishing just as quickly. It was a lonely existence, but perhaps a necessary one. The story of the phantom sniper became something of a legend among Jake's SEAL team. They shared it with other units, and soon there were reports from different areas of similar encounters. A mysterious sniper who would appear during firefights, engage insurgent targets with incredible accuracy, then disappear without a trace. Some said it was multiple people, others insisted it was one man with an almost supernatural ability to be everywhere at once. Jake never knew the sniper's real name or what ultimately happened to him. But on quiet nights, when he reflected on his time in Iraq, he would raise a silent toast to the phantom, whoever he was. In a war where allies were precious and trust was hard to earn, that unknown sniper had proven that honor and courage could exist even in the darkest places. He had asked for nothing in return for saving their lives, expecting no recognition or reward. He was simply a warrior, doing what warriors do, protecting others at great personal risk. The question, "Where's that fire coming from?" had led to an answer Jake never expected. It came from a man who had lost everything but refused to stop fighting for what he believed in. It came from a phantom who lived in the shadows, but whose actions spoke louder than words ever could. And it came from a reminder that in war, the most powerful allies are sometimes the ones you never see, the ones who ask for nothing but give everything.